When Bethesda first showed off Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition running on Switch 2 earlier this year, I joined the rest of the more technical-focused corners of games journalism in expressing some concerns. It looked rough, 30 FPS with a raw, untreated image and chunky, unfiltered shadows. In many ways, that initial showing managed to look worse than the launch day version from back in 2015. Fallout 4 is a bit of a technical oddity for me, because even back in 2015, I remember playing it alongside Xenoblade Chronicles X and being annoyed that my brand new Xbox One was being trounced by a Wii U. I think Fallout 4 at its core is a somewhat ugly game, both on the technical side and on the art side, compared to other games from Bethesda Game Studios, both before and after. So if you, like me, look at Fallout 4 and think, that's a little ugly, that's fine. Because today, we are purely going to talk about how the Switch 2 delivers that admittedly flawed vision, rather than the vision itself. Something I was not expecting from Fallout 4 on Switch was 3 separate performance modes. In both docked and handheld mode, you can toggle between settings for 30 frames per second, 40 frames per second, and 60 frames per second. The predominant compromise for each successive increase in frame rate seems to more or less exclusively come down to image quality. Things like God rays, foliage density, screen space reflections. There were moments here and there where it seemed like draw distance on LODs or on shadows may have been affected, but the vast majority of the time they were consistent across all modes. I should note that unlike in that initial trailer, shadows are now also properly filtered, which hugely improves the look of shadows as they cascade across the environment on a sunny day. But let's dig in a little to each mode. Starting with the 30 FPS mode, the game turns in a docked resolution of 1080p that is seemingly matched by the handheld resolution in most scenarios. This is then being treated with a very light pass of some sort of upscaler that shows signs of being temporal. It slightly improves perceived resolution, but I did notice some ghosting around edges of moving objects, and I'll also note that aliased edges were still pretty easy to find. Still, working from that underlying resolution of 1080p results in a sharp image. Bethesda has commented that they plan to add DLSS support in a future patch, which could boost this mode to a fairly convincing 4K. The 40 FPS mode I unfortunately lack the capture equipment to show, but in terms of image quality it appears very close to what we see in the 30 FPS mode. I suspect that the resolution has been made dynamic in docked mode as well as handheld. The hit to image quality is minimal, and the improved response time is significant. The 60 FPS mode is neat to have, but I suspect will be the mode to benefit most from a DLSS update. Resolution here is dynamic, generally coming to rest around 720p docked and closer to 540 or even 480p in handheld. This is once again treated with a temporal upscaler that does alright in docked mode but leaves handheld very blurry. I got flashbacks to playing Wolfenstein on the original Switch while using this mode, though in all fairness, we're looking at 60 FPS frame rates here versus 30. As I said, this is the mode I'm interested in returning to with an upcoming DLSS patch. All 3 modes do an overall good job of hitting their target frame rates. Now and then I'd encounter a hitch or some momentary slowdown, usually in dense areas like Diamond City, but moment-to-moment exploration felt very consistent. The 40 FPS mode has definitely been my go-to, as it holds up well on both the TV and when playing handheld, and offers a nice response time advantage. I do wish that you could swap modes without returning to the main starting menu, as it means finding the mode that's right for you requires a lot of loading in and out of your save file multiple times. Regardless of which mode you select, I have been pleasantly surprised by how well Fallout 4 has been delivered here, given the questionable initial showing. The Switch 2 version benefits from years of patches and refinements on the base game, and you can feel that in the game's overall stability. The worst bug I've encountered during my time with the game is a bit of Z-fighting on some textures, and what I assume is some sort of floating point bug on some distant physics. But then, what's a Bethesda game without that beautifully complex world simulation that is just hanging on for dear life? I'm curious to see where Bethesda takes this one with updates, but for now I'm pleased and a little surprised to say that my fears were in fact not realized on this one, and this is a perfectly good first appearance for the mainline Fallout series on Nintendo. But that's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and consider subscribing to Nintendo World Report TV. You can check out NintendoWorldReport.com for a whole lot more, and if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me directly via your social media platform of choice using the handle on screen. You can also hop into our Discord to chat with us about this or anything else Nintendo related. My name's John Raridan, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. This video was made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details.